Hi, it's Rachel. So I've been talking about our soul formation. And and ultimately, as I mentioned in my previous video, God is creating his family. Okay? And of his family, that's in his reflection, just like we see here as a child's and a parent's reflection, we will bear his reflection. Well, his reflection of his truths is love. That's what his spirit emanates, is love. And so that's what we are going to emanate. And this is a process of getting us to be in that soul condition. So we have to experience the contrast in what's not in our own self will, and to be able to choose to be absorbed into God's will so that he is totally governing us from our very point of origin. He is governing our entire will. And when it comes at the very point of our origin, that's why it's a new birth, a new creation, because when his will governs us from that point, we experience it as our will. But we become like the child because we're totally free, because we don't have anything that hinders the freedom of expression of our individuality. It's totally free. So the way that God comes into his creation is by the soul. So God is creating a family. That's talking about a relationship. So souls that he has a very intimate, loving relationship with. And that is a connection that you have at the soul level. And so he created us here, okay? In our souls, we're going through this. We first experience the sort of the opposite side, okay? Because the opposite side ultimately draws us into the light, because once you're in the light, you never leave the light. It just is. So you have to start with this, but this dark phase is kind of really our pre-life stage. It's the womb stage, and I've talked about that before. That's why it's amazing. That's why God gave us this analogy in this earth of a child being born, okay? Because it's like we're all inside a womb in terms of our spiritual formation, okay? And the womb is that first darkened reality, okay? Where you're of the water versus of the air, where you're in the darkness instead of in the light. And the other analogy that we have that he's given us is a seed in the soil, where a seed is in the soil, in the darkness, versus being outside and in a growth as a plant in the light and in the air. Okay, it's both of those help us to understand the process of our soul formation and what's happening. And when we start growing in the womb, in the soil, when we start connecting to the love of God in a very real way. So that means finding the true reflection of God, which there's many false images. But again, as long as you continue to seek, you will find the true Heavenly Father. But when you really start connecting to his love, it's the love that starts to grow you. Okay, so you start growing inside the womb, and you just grow till you're ready to come forth into the light, which is being that soul of light, being of the air, which is breathing his breath. His breath is your breath. In terms of his will as your will, it's that seamless. It's that deep. It's like every breath you take, everything that you do, every thought you think, every word you speak, it's all being governed by his will. That's what it is to be a child of the light, a child of the Father's reflection. That's how he creates it. Okay, so in this womb experience, we start growing, we lay dormant as an unfertilized seed, or a seed in the soil that's not growing until we receive that love. And in that love, we start to grow. And we grow to form a soul, okay, in all the constructs that of truth, so that God can find a oneness with our soul. So in our soul has to be the truths, the constructs, the network of truth that is in harmony and alignment with God's truth. And that's what his spirit of truth creates in us, as well as that love, because again, the love reveals the truth reveals the love. And so in your experience of growth, you're experiencing both of them. So as you start walking in the truth, you start walking in love. As you start truly walking in the love, you start walking in the truth. One reveals the other. So you start growing and transforming and changing. So think of what a seed looks like. Okay, there's not much, first of all, there's not much individuality in seeds. I mean, they kind of, all look the same until they start growing into these different variety of plants. Okay, they can have some variation, but it's very different. That's with us. Our individuality is being shaped so that ultimately, as a soul of light, it's as if, because God is governing us from our very point of origin in our will. He's directing our will. It's no longer self-directed will, but his will. From our very point of origin, he's directing us. So what we really become, like our individuality, is like the garments that are laying upon the soul of God. That's how he's all in all. Because when our soul is transformed in the truths of his soul, that's where the oneness is. It's in the truths and the love. Okay, remember, he's an invisible God. He's beyond creation. He's before creation. It's truth. And it's the love that creates. But he has, because of the way the truths are constructed, he very much is a definable soul, an expression, and an entity. Okay, that's how he can love, because he has very much his own individuality. But he is so expansive. Okay, it's hard to put your mind around God. All right, and if you even want to begin to do that, imagine all the different souls in this world. Okay, and even outside of this world who have already died. Okay, because their souls are still growing. Okay, they're still going through that process. We're all, when we come in, because the completion of our individuality comes when God's will is directing our will, because again, that means that we're just in the expressions of love. But when we're loving in our individuality, we still have complete individual expression, but it's unique and it's beautiful, but it's still reflecting our true Heavenly Father. So we all have one Father, but there's many, 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 many children, and none of them look the same. I mean, you can see that here. Everybody is so varied in their expression. Okay? The difference with our final end, when God is all in all, is that our point of origin, God's will, which is going to be directing all of us. So we're all going to be in harmony. There's all going to be a perfect inner working of love between everyone, yet actually our individuality is going to be much greater and more expressive and more unique and more beautiful. We become the garments to God's soul. So here we place more importance on, we don't place a lot of importance on garments, but garments do reflect a person's individuality. But when we are complete as souls, our soul expression, our individuality is the garment of God. It is just, and that has immense importance, okay? It is beautiful. That's how harmony is created, because there is one will, God's will, controlling everybody, but from their point of origin, so it feels like everybody's own will. It's the most amazing gift. Therefore, we can all be in the expression of love, because it's as if it's our own will. But we have to choose that governance. And that's what this other experience is, and the importance of the self-made mind, because once you see what it it is for what it is, you want God to absorb your will. And when you see His love and His truth for what it is, you want Him to govern you because you understand it's your ultimate freedom. So this is why it's so important to not judge, okay? Because, and actually I'll go into that in the next video.